So hello everyone, thank you and welcome to the second annual March Against Monsanto. For those who aren't familiar with the March Against Monsanto, this is happening not only for the second year in a row, but it's happening in over 400 cities, 50 countries at the same time. The woman who did this, okay, was a concerned mother that lived, her name is Tammy Monroe Canal, and she resides in California. When Proposition 37 was on the ballot in November of 2012, according to the Epoch Times, Canal began the project as a Facebook page on February 28th, and says her anger was sparked by the California Proposition 37 campaign to label genetically modified organisms. The measure failed, but the fight gave her the clearer picture of GMOs. Monsanto and food manufacturers spent over $45 million to defeat this initiative. Monsanto itself spent $8.1 million successfully opposing the passage of Proposition 37, making it the largest donor against the initiative. So for a company that thinks their food should be feeding the world, why would you do that if it's so safe to eat? That's my question. So, yes. So soon after, Canal moved to Utah, where she typically found her kids some fresh foods, farmers markets, but she had to leave California behind. Becoming more increasingly angry, she went to the grocery stores, spent a small fortune to ensure that she wasn't feeding her family poison. So this is one person making a difference, and with what's taking place in our world today, we all play a role. My role is I started locals supporting locals as a way to bring awareness, and these calendars are available by donation up here, but inside there contains very important information here. It's promoting all of our local ethical farmers and our local businesses, but it's a very important message of why we need to do that. Because as these multinationals, these big corporations, which I consider to be corporatization here, they're squashing our local farmers and our local businesses, and it's the big box stores that are taking over here. So the revolution starts with where you put your dollar. So locals supporting locals, it just makes sense, CENTS. So if you come up and pick up a calendar in here, it tells you who we are, what we do, why we do what we do. It also contains information such as Alex Atamenako here, who's about to speak here in regards to genetically modified organisms. It's got a list here of what to look out for when you go shopping, so that this way you already know what has been genetically modified. Also, other stories include Shiv Chopra. He worked for Health Canada for 35 years, discovered what was causing the mad cow disease, bovine growth hormone, and instead of getting a plaque or a thank you, he was actually fired. So there's a lot of important information, how they're intentionally privatizing BC Hydro. So very informative calendars here. There's the by donation. It helps to fund some of the costs that we incurred for the event and the costs of the printing of the calendars here. So by all means, come up and grab one. There's also flyers. You're going to see this flyer up here. It's got important information here. So it gives you some suggested documentaries to watch that are way too lengthy for us to play right now and help get you educated here for the ones who don't know. But one of the good ones is The World According to Monsanto. It's almost 2 hours long, but it'll tell you, it will show you everything and how basically the American government has partnered up with Monsanto, and that's why we face the resistance like we do to them labeling it and making it safe. So you'll find here at the bottom here, when you put your name down on the list to be updated here, locals supporting locals is a lot more than just a calendar. We have a YouTube channel. We film a lot of events such as what's taking place here today. Sadly, I stopped in front of the camera here, but we also started a radio show called The Heartbeat of the Okanagan. So we have different guests come on once a week, and we talk about issues such as GMOs, smart meters, a lot of the other things that are taking place, issues that are affecting us here. So now in moving on here, I got Atamenako, who has not only once but twice written in the calendar. He's the minister for the NDP for the Southern Interior here. He is truly one man that I truly commend, even though the local supporting locals is non-partisan. We don't support any party politics, but this is one man that we definitely do. He's represented his constituents and local farmers like nobody I've seen. He presented Bill 474 in the Parliament to protect farmers from GMOs. It was the longest debated bill. I think it lasted about 5 hours. Something like that. About 5 hours. Sadly, the Liberals and Conservatives were off meeting with Monsanto at the time it took place. But this is Alex Atamenako, so give a hand for Alex Atamenako. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Bonjour, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much, Kevin, for inviting me to this very important meeting, and thanks to all of you for being here. I'd just like to say that this gentleman sitting beside me at the table, Allan Patton, is our knight in shining armor in the Southern Okanagan and in the Okanagan to stop GMOs, and he's been instrumental in getting resolutions passed at the RDOS and actually at UBCM to make BC GMO tree fruit free. So we need to give him a big hand for all the work he's done, and he'll talk a bit about that. We have, I know that in federal elections coming up in a while, we have certainly one of our candidates here seeking nomination. Dick Cannings is right here. Not sure if Margaret Atamenako, our other NDP candidate, is here. If there's any other candidates from any other political party, please make yourself known, because it's an important thing happening. Well, we're here to raise awareness of GMOs and specifically to talk about what Monsanto's been doing. We know we have a battle here with our own Arctic apple here in the Okanagan. Somehow they want to introduce a GMO apple that won't brown. By doing so, of course, we've been told, and the fruit growers have been telling the government that this will threaten their livelihood because of cross-pollination, and then nobody will want to buy any of our other apples. But so we're trying to keep this fight going, and Allan's certainly been instrumental in that. You know, we'll see the economic devastation of farmers if that happens. Much the same as if they introduce genetically modified alfalfa, which has been approved, but still has not been introduced into the environment in Canada. I know there's a concern certainly amongst farmers in Ontario where they're planning on introducing GMO alfalfa that nobody needs and nobody wants, but it will just certainly contaminate non-GMO alfalfa, and then we'll be in the same position. So we got to keep the struggle there. When we talk about, you know, we can talk about economic issues. And the bill I had before Parliament 474 a couple of years ago dealt with the economic hit to the pocketbook of GMOs, but there is a bigger issue, and that's health. There have been no long-term studies on GMOs and the impact of human health anywhere. Any studies that have been done on GMOs have been industry-based, and government has basically just rubber-stamped them. Our own government, the American government, and others use what they call the principle of substantial equivalency. So if a GMO crop or plant looks the same, tastes the same, and smells the same as a non-GMO, then it's considered to be safe or equivalent. You know, there's been muzzling going on in the industry. A gentleman by the name of Seralini in France has done studies. I've actually had the privilege of meeting him when I was first elected in 2006. He told me that he was noticing, I think it was Monsanto 810 corn, doing studies and noticing liver defects and birth defects in rats using that specific GMO corn. He continued his work and published in one of the journals, scientific journals, and lo and behold, as you may have, if you've been following this, his study was pulled from the journal by the new editor. New editor happened to be a former employee of Monsanto. So that's just an example of what's happening, and that's why all of us are here. That's why I like podiums. The main ingredient in when we look at GMOs, there's basically two traits. One makes them herbicide tolerant, so you can spray the heck out of them with glyphosate and Roundup, and the other one makes them resistant to bugs, so if a bug eats it, it dies. That's the only two traits that really exist in GMOs today in the world. And so we have to question the use of glyphosate which is Roundup Ready. And we also know that now we're getting weeds that are being resistant to Roundup. So what they're doing is they're introducing stronger chemicals and making GMO plants tolerant to stronger and stronger chemicals. And one of them is the same chemical that's included or that was used in Agent Orange. So in other words, when plants become resistant to the current herbicides, they crank up the strength of the herbicides, and all of that, of course, somewhere winds up in the food chain. Glyphosate itself has been used not only with GMOs, but it's used as a weed killer. And there's another phenomenon in a study that I just read, and I found out about this years ago in Saskatchewan. My cousin, his name was also Alex. He was a grain farmer. And he said, "Alex, I'm going to desiccate today." I don't know how many of you ever heard of desiccation. Desiccation is when you've got a crop ready to harvest, a crop of a wheat, for example, and then you spray the heck out of it with Roundup to kill it, to dry it. So prior to going to combining, the crop is sprayed with Roundup, and then it's combined. And so the question I posed to Alex years ago, and I said, well, wouldn't that wind up in the food chain? And we kind of agreed that it would. So where are we today then? If we eat sugar, the sugar probably comes from sugar beets from Alberta, which are GMOs. If it comes from sugar cane in Central America, it's probably been desiccated prior to harvest. If we eat canola, canola is GMO. If we eat soya, most soya is GMO. And then, of course, we have wheat, which has probably been desiccated. So the study that I looked at, that I've read, which was an interesting one called Glyphosate Pathways to Modern Diseases, and it talked about the fact that it talked about the disease of celiac disease and gluten intolerance. And there's a correlation, it appears to be a correlation between the increase of glyphosate and the increase of gluten intolerance. In North America, 5% of the people suffer from gluten intolerance. There's also a risk, apparently, to the study according to thyroid disease, kidney failure, and cancer. Sugarcane workers that I earlier mentioned that are working on fields desiccated with glyphosate, there's a surge in kidney failure amongst these workers. And it also, glyphosate may be the contributor to the obesity epidemic and autism epidemics in the US, as well as other diseases such as Alzheimer's. And this is a study from a scientific journal that's just been published. So what should be done? Well, in Canada, we need to have an immediate moratorium on all new GMO proposals or crops. And we need to support Allan and others. And Allan's going to FCM to try to get his resolution passed to support the idea that we need no more introduction of new GMOs. And also, we need to make GMOs an election issue, so that each party has to be pinpointed on their stance on what they're going to do in regard to this very important health issue. And I would like to submit that we need to ensure that our government conducts government-sponsored independent studies on the effects of GMOs to our health. These are two concrete things we can do. And the third thing that we can do is we can push to have compulsory labeling of GMOs, so that at least until we just make that decision, we have the choice. Yes. So those are the three things we need to take into the next election and pinpoint people such as Dick and Margaret and all those other people who want to represent us in this area. And finally, if I have a couple of minutes, I just want to close by talking about food sovereignty and the control of the food supply. We have one of the threats to our control of the food supply, of course, are the proposed changes to the Agricultural Land Reserve, the ALR. And I know that many people, I was at a rally a month or two ago in Kelowna against, what's happening with this government. And I'd like to say, at this time, I'd like to thank the current Minister of Agriculture for at least opening this up for debate and at least getting submissions. And I've just written a letter to him actually last week in regard to this. There should be no changes to the ALR. We should be increasing land for agricultural production. Earlier on, Kevin mentioned Bill C-18. This is an agricultural omnibus bill where they try to ram through everything on agriculture into one bill. And one of the things they're doing is they're changing the Seeds Act. And right now we have a convention, a seed convention called, it's the French acronym UPOV 71, which seems to work just fine. This government, through this C-18, wants to introduce UPOV 91. And I'll tell you folks, ever since I became elected, I've worked hand in hand with the National Farmers Union, hand in hand with people such as yourselves in the food sovereignty movement. I crisscrossed the country a couple of times before my study came out on food sovereignty, and the message I keep getting was we should never introduce UPOV 91. This should never be part of any agreement we make. Well, lo and behold, we have it right there in Bill C-18. So I have the chance on Monday, I'll be speaking against this and trying to lay out and try to put my argument forward so that this bill will not be passed. But it empowers, C-18 empowers governments to remove, restrict, or limit farmers' seed-saving privilege by passing regulations, a process that can happen quickly and without debate. There's a provision there for these companies to collect royalties, not only at the time they sell the seeds, but right throughout the whole chain. And it's just, it's not a good bill, and I'd just like to commend the National Farmers Union, probably the only agricultural organization in Canada that has really done the research and laid it out, got the petitions, done the homework, and I'd like to thank them very much for making everybody aware of this. And I'm going to be mentioning that certainly in my speech on Monday. So, folks, now is the time. We need to you don't have to contact me, but contact the other MPs and let them know what's going on, that we need to make sure this bill, if it ever is to go forward, is certainly modified or amended to exclude those provisions that are going to make it tougher for farmers to produce good quality food for us as we try to move forward and get more control of our food supply. Because all these issues, everything that I've mentioned that we're going to be talking about today, decreases the control that we have over our food supply. And it puts the control into the hands of Monsanto and the other corporations. So that's our battle. Our battle today is to ensure that we as Canadians can have control over our food supply so that if there's more droughts or more accidents of nature in other countries that we currently import food from, that we can at least feed ourselves. And that's our goal. So let's work together as we move forward. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Alex. Okay, just a friendly reminder here, guys. We have the petitions up here for what Alex was just talking about in regards to Bill C-18. We also have where you can sign your name and keep up to date on other GMO events, locals supporting locals. We have our radio show and stuff, so we can send you updates on what's going on. As well, we do have the local supporting local calendar that's up here. It's by donation. I don't care if you give a quarter, a nickel. This is one of the most informative calendars you'll ever pick up. Alex Atamenako wrote in it. It talks about how the CFIA changed the term local now, so the big multinationals can now lie to the consumers, and you'll think that these big box stores are selling and supporting local farmers, and they're not. They can come within 50 miles or kilometers of the border. So where's it coming from to get there, then to come here, right? So also the Agora magazine. It's a free magazine you can get here in town, and the calendar also tells you which locations. But it's the hardest hitting magazine, the most informative magazine that you'll ever pick up, and it's free every month. Smart shoppers, hooked on books, Wild Scallion, to name a few, carry the magazine. So by all means, come up while everybody's talking. Don't feel like you're being rude. We want to get to the march as soon as possible here. So I got Nykita Pruden. She's here to represent the young, the concerned young adults here about GMOs.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi. I believe our food crisis began before Monsanto. It began when we stopped caring about where our food came from. It began when we no longer knew the people that grew our produce and raised the animals we eat. It began when we stopped cooking and started eating out of boxes and eating fast food meals in our cars. It began when we started trusting companies that solely rely on profit to feed us. Monsanto exists because of our neglect. And how we become so disconnected from such an important part of our very being is hard to understand. But it's time to reconnect. Supporting local farmers makes our community stronger and healthier. So why wouldn't you want local food? Local food tastes better. Local food is more nutritious. Local food preserves genetic diversity. Local food promotes energy conservation. Local food uses less packaging. Local food supports the environment and benefits the wildlife. Local food supports farmers. Local food builds community. And local food is about the future. So let's keep it real. Let's keep it real good.
Thank you so much, Nykita. So we're just waiting for Gord Forbes. He's our local organic farmer, but he's working one of the tents at the moment here. Somebody's grabbing him right now. Gord! Okay, so again, people, any amount you can give for the calendars, it's not about the money. This information needs to get out there. Give it, if you have to, if you already got one, get one, give it to friends. Get them to actually read the calendars. Because if anybody thinks it's an advertising calendar, you clearly didn't read it. It's advertising with a purpose. The biggest solution, the biggest revolutionary act that we can make against these multinationals is keeping our money local. That's where it starts. With your local businesses, your local ethical, organic, and natural farmers. Put your money there, support them. All right, so we got Gord Forbes coming. He's, if I'm not mistaken, second or third generation farmer from Oliver. Very, very passionate about his real food here. He's also Mr. December. Mr. December in the calendar for everybody here. And yes, he is single.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, is that on?
Hi. Is that on?
Yeah, just bring it close.
Hold it really close.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say a few words, coming from perspective of a farmer and someone who's very concerned about the future generations. What choices are they going to have in the future too? So, the biggest thing on GMOs, well, one of the things I'm concerned about is that they can put patents on life. This doesn't make any sense to me. You can patent something you make, a thing, but you should never be able to put a patent on something that's living, is life. It's part of the natural world. I just think that right now we need to speak up because there's so much of the future generations, they don't have a voice. We have to be their voice because if we don't stop this now, they're not going to have any choice in the future. And where it stops, GMOs, they once they're released into the environment, they can never be recalled back. They just keep keep on reproducing. They're self-replicating. They're the bomb that just keeps going off. So we need to stop this now. This company is only one of many that are doing this kind of technology. So, but they are the main. They are the big one. They're the snake, the biggest snake in the pit. So we start with them, then we expose the rest. We take them all out. So important. But I just my parents, they had our farm for over 40 years. Well, we still, and now my brother and I run it. But they taught us all the time to appreciate the natural world, see the beauty in it. Scientists, they've gone crazy. They're doing things just because they can. Doesn't mean it's right. You know. And I guess I have friends who I've seen grow up. They're healthy. They're beautiful children. I just really worry about the world that they're going to have, the world that we're leaving for them. Our governments are out of control now. They're sorry. But you know, I think there's way too much money in politics. The lobbyists for big corporations, they can go in there and they buy our governments. You know, if we get the money out of politics, get it right back so that there's no more lobbying. People are there because they feel good about the job they're doing. We're lucky we have Alex. He's awesome. And if we just, if we all stick together, keep educating. You know, that's what we do a lot at our stand and on our farm. We just keep talking about it, bring it up to people. A lot of people are very unaware of what GMOs are or what the problem is with them. But it's been proved that everything that they said was going to be the benefit from GMOs is all lies. Nothing has been, everything they said was going to do has happened. It's actually been the opposite. We're getting lower yields from it. We're using way more chemicals than we ever have. They said that we're going to prevent blindness in third world countries. You'd have to eat 17 bowls of that golden rice to get the amount of vitamin A that you need to survive, to prevent the blindness. So that is, I mean, really what they need is a varied diet, instead of just more of one single product. So I just say power to the people.
Thank you so much, Gord. Okay, so thanks, Gordy. Mr. December on the calendar for you ladies. So by all means, come up, grab a calendar. It's all by donation, whatever you can afford. I don't care if it's a nickel, a quarter, whatever you can do. It'll help cover some of the costs for putting this event together. I gotta tell you, it's a lot of work to do this. And if you think it's easy coming up here to do this, I was not born and raised to do this, but my dad did teach me to fight the good fight, and that's what I'm doing here. So somebody's got to do it. Thank you. So now I got Allan, Patton here. We want to start moving towards solutions. So that's awareness. The most important part about this march and why supporting locals is a part of this is because we got to start moving towards solutions. The revolution has always started from the bottom up at true grassroots at the local level. And so that's what we need to do here in our Okanagan is we need to get reconnected here. And Allan Patton is an executive director of the Oliver RDOS. And with the UBCM, he actually presented, went to the floor to fight to make BC GE or GMO free. But I'll let him explain more to you about what happened and where we're at now. Mr. Allan Patton. You can catch him in the back of the calendar as well. He's written inside there too.
Thank you, Kevin. And I really want to thank you for all the work you've done to get this together. It's really important that the public come out here to these kind of things. Alex and I can do what we can in the political level, but it's not going to work without public support and public demonstrations to show that we are not in favor of GMOs. So I thank you for coming out, and I thank Alex for doing the work he's doing at the federal level, and I'm just doing what I can do at the local level. And Kevin's asked me to give you a little spiel on what's been happening there. So the BC Fruit Growers Association has asked a couple of years ago to have the regional district local government to approve the banning, or to deny the registration of the Arctic apple, and they did that unanimously. You bet. And that was the whole regional district, which includes 6 municipalities and 8 rural areas, and it was unanimous. So that was really good. So the local politicians are behind this heavily. So we need your support on this. So then I took that motion and the motion to deny all tree fruits in genetic modification to the Union of BC Municipalities. And when I explained the economic impacts, and really you only got 2 minutes, so I just chose the economic. Obviously there's way more impacts on GMOs to our lives than just economics, but I thought that would be one that did. They were smart enough to know that there's much more involved than just economics. Health especially, as Alex has stated so well, the youth, as Nykita has stated so well, and the agriculture, as Gordon stated so well. But it passed unanimously at UBCM. 400 local delegates said, and there was only 4 people who might have voted against it out of 400. It was unanimous. It was great to see. Okay? The following year, a friend of mine in Metchosin got Metchosin and the Vancouver Island to pass just last year a motion to deny all GMO food and feed products. Everything we eat, basically. That was a little more contentious at UBCM. There was quite the debate that went back and forth. But it passed, over 60%. Okay? So the local governments are behind you. So now the next step, and last year I took that motion to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which happened to be in Vancouver. But the executive, and there happened to be a GMO grower on the executive, wouldn't hear it. I tried to bring it back onto the floor, and it's 67% votes. It wasn't on the table, and it wasn't on the screen. Nobody could see it. Nobody knew what it was. And even then, it was close to a 50-50 vote. But you need 67% to get it in, so that didn't happen. I'm going to try that again this year. FCM is in Ontario. Okay? I'm leaving on Tuesday to the FCM. And the motion I'm bringing to the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which is in St. Catharines area, Niagara Falls, where the fruit growing and wine growing area, just like this area, is. Okay, so the motion that I'm taking there was one that was passed unanimously by our regional district, is to have a moratorium on all present and future GMO registrations on all the food and feed products. Okay? That's what I'm bringing to them. They've really made it difficult for me to get this even on the floor. There's 2 67% motions even before we consider the motion, because the executive has again denied that from being an A category. So we're not getting much help from the Federal Municipal Association. But I will be bugging them forever until they get around to it. Okay? So, and there's plenty of local government people that listen to people like you that tell us that we should be doing this kind of work on your behalf, on the behalf of future generations, and on behalf of agriculture to stop this nonsense. Okay? Yeah. Lastly, I just want to say lastly that I'm an orchardist in the Oliver area, and if this Arctic apple gets planted in Summerland, within a year or two, all our orchards are contaminated with the pollen. Because I get bees to pollinate my crop, and the beekeepers go all up and down the valley. In 1 year, it's contaminated everywhere. Okay? So if I don't have any control on what I produce, you don't have any control of what you're fed or what you feed your families. And that's wrong. That's just plain ass wrong. Okay? And I'm fed up with this garbage, and I intend to do something about it, just like Alex is doing something about it, and just like you are too. We need you, and thank you for showing up.
Thank you so much, Allan. Again, just so people know, come up and sign the petitions, get a calendar. Even if you got a nickel, throw it in there. It'll help fund the expenses that it took to put all this together here. I want to thank everybody for coming here. Right now, what's being handed out to you is going to be the chants that we're going to say as we go and do our march here. And so if we can get some the volunteers here, we'll start getting the banners ready to go here. Our route that we're taking this year is we're actually going down Lakeshore here, and we're going to be passing right by the Children's Festival, so we'll be chanting loud so all the families can hear us. I know some of them are there and couldn't be over here at the same time. There's so much going on today. Then we're going to go right up to Front Street, march through the market on front, and then come right through the center of our market here, right back here where we're going to have an open mic. So if people have something to say, you know, you want to get off your chest, if you got some solutions, we need to start talking about them. That is the purpose of locals, supporting locals, is to form that reconnection that we have been missing in our community here. We want to be a hub to a lot of the issues that we face here in our Okanagan. We got information brochures up here. Just say no to GMOs. Please come and get it. It's all free there, all this information. But it gives you documentaries. It shows you how to find locals, supporting locals on Facebook, our website, and now we just started a weekly radio show, The Heartbeat of the Okanagan. So we have different guests come on every week, and we talk about different issues that affect us. So, so we're going to continue to talk after here. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the chants here. We're just going to practice them. So as we go along here, so that we're on the same page here. Everybody ready? Yes. Okay. So the first one is, hey, hey, ho, ho, GMOs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, GMOs have got to go. Okay, so how do we stop Monsanto? Support your local farmer. I want to say that one when we're coming through the market here, so that this way our farmers hear it and they know that we're here to support them. How do we stop corporatization? Support local. So I'll say the question, you say the answer. How do we stop corporatization?
Support local.
There you go. Okay, so what do we want? We want a GMO-free Okanagan. When do we want it? Now. Okay, so together, what do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
There we go, one more time. What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
There you go. Okay, so the last one there. Sick of the lies, sick of the greed. We don't want your toxic seed. So sick of the lies, sick of the greed. We don't want your toxic weed. Okay, sounds good here. Okay, so if we can get some of the volunteers here for the banners here, we're going to take them down. We're going to get the tractor started. Where's Paul? Where? Okay, let's. Okay, so we can get some volunteers here to grab to get both these banners here. We need some strong guys here with muscles.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That was great.